Welcome back, everybody. That's right. The Squatchers Lounge podcast is about to start. Arkansas, however y'all want to say it, don't make no difference to me, has got some weird Bigfoot calls. That is for sure. Tonight, we're going to check into the Fouke area and see what's going on in the swamps, along with a Quasi Rewind and a brand new camping tips for stupids. So we're going to have us a hell of a time tonight. Welcome, everybody, because I am indeed your host of the Squatchers Lounge podcast, the Reverend Jeff Kelly, and we are talking Arkansas Bigfoot. That's right. No, I don't think that's how they actually pronounce it there, but I saw it in a Western movie once, so it must be true, right? Isn't that how that all works? I'm not rightly sure. Anyhow, there's a whole bunch of news to get to tonight, so let's go ahead and jump right on into that. A lot of it's related, but it's kind of strange the way things come about sometimes, and that's kind of why I brought them to the table. Apparently, the autopsy results have come back on radio host Art Bell, and he died from what they're calling an accidental overdose from a cocktail of prescription drugs, such as Oxycontin, hydrocodone. The big three that kill everybody. So, you know, I hate being in pain, and I totally understand people that live on pain medications, but yeah, it's, you know how much you're taking, and you know how much you should be taking. So anyhow, unfortunately, that's how we lost the great Art Bell to another drug overdose of the big three pain pills. You know, there's never actually been a death from overdosing from marijuana. Isn't that weird? Hey, you'll be amazed to know that they do exist, says Jane Goodall. Here's an interesting article from the National Cryptid Society.org. Came out the other day. They revisit a lot of what Jane Goodall had to say about the Sasquatch Bigfoot phenomenon. And she is a fan. She definitely thinks that there's a possibility that they could exist, just like the great gorilla and chimpanzee hunts of the past. There seem to be far fewer in congregation when it comes to the Sasquatch, but would make it far more difficult to be able to locate animals on a regular, ready basis. So you can check that one out going on over to the National Cryptid Society.org. Now comes the really interesting thing. You mentioned Bigfoot, nobody pays attention to it. You mentioned Bigfoot in politics, people kind of get laughed at. North Carolina man has face-to-face encounter with Bigfoot over the weekend. I was getting ahead of myself a little bit. Sorry there. This is an article from last year, so we're going to skip right over that because I thought I had cut that one. The Daily Star, that's right. Bigfoot starting chilling photo shows the beast walking in the forest, sparks online frenzy. This could be anybody in a black hoodie. I've seen this going around the last week. It's driving me crazy. It's so ambiguous. It could be anything, anybody. It could be Pedals the Bear for all we know. I don't know. Check it out at thedailystar.uk. They're just so desperate for a Bigfoot. It's ridiculous. ScienceSquatch.com. That's right. Dean Cooper, the quasi theorist himself, just posted this in the lounge a little while ago. It is the Squatch in the tribal traditions of the Tlingit tribes. That's right. The T is silent, just like the D is silent in Django. I'm sorry. Yes, the D is silent. This is my favorite line in that entire movie. Sasquatch and the traditions of the Tlingit tribes. The anthropological research shows that although just about every native culture knew about Sasquatch, each tribe had a different history of relations with them and different beliefs regarding them the same. And this is a pretty good read. It's extensive. I'm not going to get into it. I mean, the artist needs for you to go out there and get the clicks and read it. So check it out at ScenicSquatch.com or ask me for the link. I'll be glad to give it to you. Is Sasquatch real? Of course he is. We know he's real here, but to the rest of the world, they're still not so sure. Curiosity.com posts up. Here's 3 reasons why they say that Bigfoot, well, maybe. It was a pretty decent article. The Patterson-Gimlin tape, of course, is the number one reason to believe that Sasquatch does exist. In its entirety, it's nearly impossible for it to have been hoaxed at the time that it was filmed. I mean, all these years later, 50 years later, there's still no suit. There's still no real claims to anybody who knew where the site was. And the one gentleman who was there is still infallible in the story that he tells. So, that would be the number one reason. Ancient oral traditions, as we were just talking about with the Tlingit tribe. Some modern people claim to see Bigfoot all the time, but modern people will say anything. We're intrigued by the fact that so many Native American cultures make room for a large, hairy wild man in their cosmology. That's right. And, of course, the footprints. Unlike God, who billions of people believe in on the planet, and that's fine in your faith. Whatever you want to believe is fine. God doesn't leave footprints like these Sasquatch creatures do all over the world. We've been through Bigfoot around the world on this show. We've showed where nearly every major culture across the planet has some type of hairy hominid that leaves tracks unknown, and is an primate of some sorts. And, that's really the way it comes down. So check it out, curiosity.com. And now is when that's right, the theoretical crap hits the fan. That's right. Virginia Democratic House candidate tweets that his GOP opponent is a devotee of Bigfoot erotica. Now, I love the fact when Bigfoot's in the news for anything. And if Bigfoot makes it to politics, it's even more fantastic. But not this way. Jeez Louise, people, what is wrong with you? Headline after headline. Bigfoot porn has become major controversy in a U.S. House race. Seriously? Yeah, seriously, people? You people suck. Okay, if you are the best and the brightest of our country, you people suck. And you're drawing attention to Bigfoot, which makes it even worse that you suck. Look, Denver Riggleman, the Bigfoot erotica candidate, wants you to know it's all anthropological. Yeah, you're reading about human women getting raped by Bigfoot in an anthropological state of mind. Sure you are. Just own up to it, you perverted bestiality sucker. I'm not saying that he screws bears, but I read it on the internet. That's a different guy. I love US. Politician tweeted about Bigfoot erotica, and everyone's like, what the? Yeah, I'm with you. I'm absolutely with you. But when it comes down to it, and we really are going to enjoy it, Rolling Stone wants you to know that yes, erotica is absolutely a thing. Apparently it's not new either. I mean, there's been videos and books, and it's just creepy. That's all I can think of. Creepy that people want to read about a woman laying down and just getting ravished by a creature of unknown origin. It's like reading stories about them laying down and getting it by a dog. It's just weird. Anyhow, that's the news for this week. Weirdo politicians in America like Bigfoot erotica. Somebody get new politicians, please. Can we reboot the politician gene pool? Somebody just reboot the politician gene pool. I think we'll be in better shape in about 25 years. Jeez, God in heaven help us. Hey, with that, guess what? It is already time to hear a quasi theory from our quasi scientist. Look at that. That's right, Mr. Dean Cooper. And I have it locked and loaded, and the picture is available. So let's say hi to Quasi Man himself and listen to his theory on why Bigfoot is not a Gigantopithecus. Well, crap. I guess I would probably have to. I told you it was locked and loaded. I lied. Yeah, sometimes that happens, but there it is. And we are on target. And now, Quasi Theories from a Quasi Scientist with your host, Dean Cooper.
Scientific evidence that Bigfoot is not a Gigantopithecus. Grover Kranz was the first to propose that Sasquatches are descendants of some species of Gigantopithecus. There are 3 known species of Gigantopithecus: Blackie, Belosperensis, and Giganteus. Belosperensis fossils have been found in India. Giganteus fossils are from North India and Western China. Blackie is the youngest of the species, and fossils are from Eastern China. Gigantopithecus blackie is therefore the culprit most likely to have been able to cross over the Bering Straits land bridge, since its youngest fossils are from about 100,000 years ago, and lowered sea levels from glaciation would have exposed the land bridge. Lots of different animal species did likewise, and migrated between the North American continent and Asia in both directions. Camelids, such as camels and llamas, evolved in North America and scooted to Asia via that land bridge, for example. Gigantopithecus blackie's diet is known to have been fibrous plants consisting of leaves and various grasses, especially bamboo. Bamboo seems to have been its favorite food, based on analyses of plant debris ground into the teeth that have been found. An interesting side note: Gigantopithecus teeth were first identified by an anthropologist. They were found in 1935 by Ralph von Königswald in an apothecary shop in China. They were being sold as dragon teeth. Now, relative to the scientific evidence that Bigfoot is not a kind of Gigantopithecus, the evidence comes from an experiment I have been conducting for quite some time. Regular viewers of the Squatchers Lounge podcast will recall that I came to the aid of the Reverend Jeff and Mr. Batdorf, pseudoscientists, back in August, when Mr. Batdorf suddenly had the urge to wed his longtime female companion, and therefore was unable to uphold his end of that week's podcast. We all hope and presume that, contrary to rumors, shotguns were not involved in inducing the marriage proposal. But I digress. In that podcast, I demonstrated that, contrary to rational thinking, there are indeed occasional Bigfoot sightings in the general Chicago area, some even within a mile or two of my house. Parenthetically, the name Chicago translates to smelly or skunk, onions, and language of the Miami Illini people who lived here. So maybe what we have here are skunk apes. But again, I digress. Based on the fondness of Gigantopithecines for bamboo and the occasional nearness of Bigfoot to my house, I planted hardy bamboo around my house. I now have the largest patch of bamboo that I have knowledge of for several miles around. It has been here for almost 10 years now. After 10 years, I have found no evidence of any Bigfoot feeding on that bamboo. Nary a footprint, odd-looking hairs, nary a gifting, nor portal demons have left any trace, physical, psychic, or otherwise. I can confidently therefore announce that Bigfoot is not any kind of Gigantopithecus. I have caught a couple 3 pandas, though. They have a nice pelt and taste like chicken. This has been Dean Cooper, quasi-scientist, enlightening you with my quasi-theory of the week. You may read the text of this on my blog at bydean.com. That's BHAIDIN.com.
That's right, bydean.com. I think we're going to have to take a new picture because the beard is far more glorious than it was when we did this snapshot. That's right. All right, people, we are getting right into it. Next up on the list is a brand new Camping Tips for Stupid from the Gone Camping channel and the mind of Jevin Moore. Yep. So hold your hat. You never know what you're in store for.
Camping Tips for Stupids. Tip number 68. It's now peak of the summer season. The Egyptian sun god Ra is in full swing, burning down forests all over the damn place with his deadly laser raptors. Now is the time to practice fire safety even more than ever. So here are some tips and tricks on how to be safe and secure around fires. 1. If you see a fire, don't touch it. Back away and tell an adult. 2. Some states have a stand your ground law. Would you really want to? 3. After shooting the fire, please tell the first responding officer you were in fear for your life. 4. Lime won't work on fire. Use dirt and water. Sometimes you'll have to move the fire to multiple spots before they stop. And 5. You didn't see nothing. Now get out of here. Go on, get out of here. This has been Camping Tips for Stupids. Remember to spay and neuter your idiot population.
You didn't see nothing. That's right. Don't you forget it either. You ain't seen nothing. Oh, good Lord in heaven help us. That was just way too much. All right. Well, it is that part of the show where I take the time to say hello and howdy to y'all. Let's see if I can get this thing to work. I don't think it's going to work. It's not working right. That's for sure. So I'm just going to start hoping I can start saying hi to some people, and we'll see if it ever gets to the top of it. Is that it? Is that where it's going to be? Chat's really being a pain tonight, so I'm going to say the highs to as many people as I can. Hi, Cheryl Willen. I saw what you said about your nephew. You're going to ship him out here. I'd take his little butt out there and scare the crap out of him, make him a man. That wouldn't be a problem. Yeah. We'll take anybody on a Bigfoot expedition that wants to get out here to Sacramento first. Let's see here. Shane Barber. How you doing there, champ? Natalie Smith is with us. I saw James the Grower, and of course, Rodney Dupree is always in the place to be. I'm sure Starshine's checked in somewhere out there as well. Timothy McCune, how are you? I saw the Reverend Matthew Gaines playing around in the house as well. Let's see here. Oreo Cream Rocks, how you doing? So glad you are with us as well. I'm going to scroll. Lance Windsor, how you doing there, champ? Glad you are checking in tonight as well. I'm sure that Squatchbox, our friend Cassie, is out there as well as Christopher. Christopher, I'm going to go eat that 72-ounce steak with you one of these days, dude. I don't know. Texas is a scary place. Jonathan Dowdy, here's the man, the myth, the legend himself. That's right. Keith Harden, how you doing there, sir? Glad you are with us as well. Natalie Smith, howdy. I saw somebody said that Wheezy was in the house as well. So how you doing there, Wheezy? We're going to scroll down here a little more and see who else is floating around. If I didn't say hi to Keith Harden, I certainly have now. Mr. Dean Cooper, of course, our quasi-theorist himself, is in the house. Con Champion, the man, the myth. That's right. There he is right there. Mr. Jevin Moore. I see Ricky Perez is in the house. How you doing there, Ricky? Donald Fuller. Hello, right back at you. Gotcha. Wanted to make sure. Chin. Damn it, every single week I get this all over my Candy Apple. Nice to see you back in the house. She's been missing for a while. Dun, 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 dun. Yeah, it's one of them nights. It really, really is. Matthew Gaines, the Reverend the Reverend Rodney Dupree, Reverend. You know, we're going to be just like spies like us before too long. The Hungarian Jedi Nation. That's right. Bigfoot porn is here to stay every single stinking day. Just mention Bigfoot porn and politics, and you get 18 friggin' stories. You mention new footprints in Bigfoot research, and you get nothing. Nothing, I tell you. It's just maddening. All right, we're getting down to the bottom here. Garrett Robb, how you doing? Brown Dwarf is in the house as well. Obsidian Radio usually checks in. I may have missed that post as well. And we are finally getting down to the bottom. So if I did not say hi to you, I don't know you're here. Make sure that you leave a comment before the end of the show, and I will try to catch up to the people that I missed. So there we go. All right. Tonight we are in Fouke, Arkansas. That's right. What are we doing in Fouke, Arkansas? Well, we're going to talk about some Fouke Monster vocals. At least that's what people say they are. Well, we're gonna listen to him, and you can see what my dilemma has been. I've spent the day. I mean, seriously, I've spent the day trying to clean up and clear up and make these worthy. So let's give them a try here. They all come out of the Fouke, Arkansas area, the swamp bottoms, the river bottoms, and places like that. This very first one, of course, I took a 34-second cut of like a 5-minute video, but it's the best of what it had to present. But it's very well. Here it is, uncut. Take a listen to it. I had to do a lot of enhancing on this one. Yeah, I mean, it's definitely got what sounds like canines in there, but yet I don't know that their vocal capacity. Now, I was able to boost this one up for us, and let's take a listen to it enhanced. And it naturally went silent like that. And as you listen to the end of it enhanced there, you can hear almost a typical howl in the background. Now later on in the same video, I was able to move into another set of calls. Now, I've never heard a coyote make that sound, and I've heard, if I haven't heard a million coyotes in my lifetime, I'd be surprised. Here it is enhanced. I just don't know what to make out of that. And that was, pretty clear vocals of unknown vocals that I can't place in the swamps of anything. And I've lived in the swamps of Mississippi. I've lived in the swamps of Florida. I lived in the swamps all over the South. And that's just not a sound that I'm very familiar with at all. All right. Next up is a 1:25 cut unenhanced of these whoops and growls that are, again, very particular, not typical what we expect to be Bigfoot sounds, but then again, I still can't place what it is. So let's take a listen to the unenhanced version. Faintly in the background there. There's just some kind of a barking call that's being wailed out. And I was able to bring that one up as well. Let's take a listen to the enhanced version of it here. Now, what's interesting about that is the fact that this is now the third type of an investigation evidence find that they're all different investigators. These are all in different years. These are all in slightly different places around Fouke, but yet they're all contributing it to an unknown animal call. And for some reason, they're all kind of contributing it to the Fouke Monster or to the Bigfoot itself. Now, I have got a couple of more to go through here. Now, these Bigfoot calls, again, they're not the typical sounding Bigfoot calls. It's minute 8 unedited. And then I was able to isolate some of the calls and bring them up. So let's take a listen to the unedited here. Now, I was able to enhance that quite a bit and bring up the volume on it, but it's obviously clear to begin with. It's just, again, one of those very, very strange animal calls that I fail to place. And when you look at the sonic wave pattern of this versus the other sounds and noises that are going on in the background, it's a very, very odd. It's a strange looking sound wave. I'm not even. I don't even know what to make of it. And most Bigfoot calls are they're in frequency and sonic definition that's unlike most other vocals that are caught at the same time. Now here's another enhanced of that quick call. I mean, to me, that just sounds like an animal with big lungs and lips, but it doesn't sound like a bird of any kind that I know of. Now, finally, we're going to wrap it up tonight with which had to have been like the screwiest thing to happen to Bigfoot hunters, or not Bigfoot hunters, but ghost hunters in Arkansas of any time. The ghost hunters of Arkansas in this cemetery just kind of chilling, trying to do some EVPs, and they had been getting reports of something throwing rocks at them from in the wood line outside of the cemetery that's back in the forest. So let's take a listen to it as it happened naturally.
This is a recorder. You can speak into this, and we can hear you. Please speak. Tell us what's on your mind. So, thanks.
And just like that, out of the blue, out of the woods, comes this odd call. Now, I was able to really bring up and isolate that call itself. Let's take a listen to that. and then I took it and threw it into a loop because it does not sound like an owl to me. And that, another, not really too sure exactly what that is. And that's going to bring it to a close for the Fouke Monster sounds. I looked hard and far and wide for them the best I could do, and I just wasn't able to find anything more than these strange calls that are out there. Give a final shout out there in the podcast room to Spike Jeff is about the only guy I can see that I didn't manage earlier on. So let's take care of that now. Say hello to everybody and say good night, Nancy. There's Mac M Dogs. There you go. We can say hi to him as well. We're going to wrap everything up with another real Bigfoot encounter that's close to my heart. It's the story of my granddaddy told me once upon a Bigfoot time. So take a listen to the Moonshine Bigfoot. We will see everybody back here next week, 8 p.m. Pacific, right here at the Squatchers Lounge podcast. Thanks everybody for being here live. I love every one of you for being here, and may you all find the healing light of what you are looking for so it cures what ails you. May the Squatch be with you, and enjoy this real Bigfoot encounter. Welcome to another episode of Real Bigfoot Encounters with Reverend Jeff. This week's encounter comes to us from the high mountains of Pennsylvania when an old Irishman has a run-in with an animal he can't explain. Let's hear his story. My name's Bill, but my friends call me Bertie. I've been living in these mountains since I settled here in 1931. Shortly after I settled in the area, I found a creek just right for making my favorite drink. So I set up a still, and I've been there for 40 years. From time to time while making my goods, I'd hear the oddest sounds echoing up from the canyon below. Sounded like a sick monkey crying out or something or other, but nothing like this had ever happened before. I'd picked up a load of groceries and headed up to the camp to give it a good cook. Mind you, this location isn't exactly the easiest place to find, and it isn't like there's an actual road that goes there. My old Ford barely makes the trip in every time and hardly on the way out. It was starting to get dark, and I'd left the paved road a while back when out of nowhere, some big brown thing ran on two legs out in front of the truck. Now, I've shot many a black bear around this area, but never have I seen one that color, nor had I seen one run on two legs. I stopped the truck and shut it off. I grabbed my coach gun and went to take a look. I went over to the bank it ran up, and when it crossed in front of me, it had to have been really big as it grabbed a tree about 8 feet up and it used it to launch itself up the bank. I couldn't walk up, but if I tried, the trees were barely holding on as it was. I must have crossed 20 feet of the trail in 2.5 steps before it hit the bank. Just then I heard a loud grunt come from the tree line above me. Thinking it was the oddest bear I'd ever seen, but still a bear, I better get a move on. So I got back in the truck and I moved on up to my camp. As I wound around the mountain trail, it dawned on me that that animal was heading right in the direction of my camp, some 4 or 5 miles in that direction. I hoped I wouldn't run into it again. I arrived at camp right after dark and started up the mash fires and got things started. A few hours had passed before some of those weird howls came up out of the canyon. I'd been sampling my goods for a while and things began to get a little odd. At first, some old thump keg I had out back got knocked over and rolled out into the open. That keg hadn't moved in 3 seasons. No real reason for it to move now. I got up off my stool and walked over and set it upright, and something made that grunting sound like I had heard by the truck, and then a fist-sized rock arched in near my feet. It spooked me quite a bit that I kind of backed up to my hut and grabbed the coach gun once again. Whatever it was seemed to be circling my camp, where there's many of them surrounding me, as every time I moved towards the sound, something would catch my attention from the other side of camp. I moved back and forth for a while before I decided to sit to my back to the hut and be prepared for whatever came next. Things continued on this way through the night. Every so often, a new item got tossed into camp. Finally, I got fed up with it and let loose the first round of the coach gun into the air in the direction of the last noise. Something screamed out in terror and tore off into the woods. That was the last I heard of it for the night. As the sun came up, I finally had a chance to take a look around. Everything on the edge of camp was disrupted. If it wasn't nailed down, it had been turned over, beat on, or pushed around. Huge footprints, twice as wide as mine and a good 1.5 times as long, seemed to be everywhere. I quickly loaded up my jugs and hit the road. I didn't really feel safe at the moment. It was the first time in 40 years. I went back up to camp about 2 weeks later, real early in the morning, to take a look around. Everything was left just like I had left it there, minus my steel cap. It had a huge handprint pushed into the top of it that was 3 times the size of mine. A feat well done on pure copper. Since the night, there haven't been any more visitors, but every once in a while, that lonely howl echoes up out of the canyon, and I think to myself, well, here we go again, Birdie. This man was saved for 40 years before Bigfoot decided to visit. For him, a life-changing night. For me, another fantastic, real Bigfoot encounter. Thanks for listening. I'm Reverend Jeff. That's Seamus the Parrot. And may the Squatch be with you. Oh, I forgot how much Seamus got involved with this when I saw some late arrivals to the table. Say hi back to Forrest Kopp. And I'm sure I'm going to miss who else? D the Sun stopped in as well. I want to thank you guys for stopping in on the channel. We will see you guys next week. And may the Squatch be with you always.